Hello and welcome to the channel. We are going to be doing a little bit of a mini review and unboxing of this guy here. This is a new gun that I picked up this week. It is called the ASG Special Teams Carbine. It is actually a ASG badged version of a K&J Works KC-2 gas blowback rifle, and this is actually essentially a replica of the Ruger 10/22 tactical rifle, essentially, that's been used by some armed forces around the world, including people like the Israeli armed forces. And yeah, this is the kind of consumerist version in for the airsoft world. So let's take a quick look around the box. You can see the front here. We just sort of kind of take a look at this side. We've just got some safety information here. The ends are pretty boring. The interesting one is actually this, which just has information about the rifle. We have got sort of the length, dimensions, the weight, obviously the caliber, 6mm, it's a BB gun after all for airsoft. And then we've got magazine capacity 29 rounds. It is capable of 1.7 joules according to the box, or 427 FPS. Now, as with a 0.2 gram BB, we believe, it is a gas rifle. Now, this value here will depend on the temperature, the type of gas you use, essentially the way the wind's blowing, all those kind of good things. So this is not a hard and fast thing, but it's kind of in the ballpark. Now, this is a out-of-the-box DMR rifle. So in the UK, most sites will consider this a DMR, and it will have a higher FPS limit. Typically around 450 is the sort of DMR limit in the UK, and essentially that's what it is. It's semi-automatic locked rifle. You can't essentially go full auto with this, nor would you want to, because of the power. So let's have a look inside. So we have the manual, fairly straightforward. It's very simple in here. We've got the actual rifle itself. We've got a few BBs and a little speed loader, I guess. What we'll do is we'll take these out for the moment, put them to one side, and then let's take the rifle out, and we'll pop that on the table here, and then we'll have a look around the rifle. We'll close the box and put it to one side, and essentially we'll have a look around what we've got. Hold that there. So we'll just put these on the table here. So we've got them in shots. This is the rifle. It's very straightforward. It comes with one magazine, 29 round mag. It is done in a kind of the tactical look. This rifle, the original, basically is available as kind of a sporting edition, which has a wooden stock. The original, that is, and that's fairly common, and you'll see that around. This tactical version is obviously the version we've got here for the airsoft world. And the great thing about this rifle, from what I understand, is the airsoft variant is a very good reproduction, in that if you get hold of a real steel wooden stock, it comes with a sporting edition, which you can actually pick up quite easily. This will just slot in. You take off the pistol grip, the stock, and so on, and the body there, and you can just drop it into the actual wooden stock, and you can essentially make it look a bit more sporting as opposed to being purely tactical. So, kind of take a look around what we've got here. So, safety. Trigger, the we've got kind of an AR-15 style stock. It has no butt pad on here. It's a very sort of basic stock. Nice pistol grip. Magazine here. Magazine release is just there. Pops out. Gas magazine. Loads from the top. Spring. All that good stuff. Sticking the gas at the bottom here, and there's a gas release valve. We have 2 rifle slings built in. It's a fully adjustable stock. We've got a Picatinny rails on this, on essentially these three here. They are covered to start with. They come with this. It looks really cool. Also makes it easy to hold. However, these do slide off, and you can then use accessories on here. I'm not entirely sure what you might use. Probably hand rail is probably foregrip. Sorry, is probably the only thing that you probably use. Besides, you'll really be putting a torch on this. You might put a laser on it. I don't know. Iron sights. Fairly good iron sights here. If you can just see here, this is actually got a little fibre as well, so it's a very nice little iron sight. It isn't just the little plastic sticky up bit that you get on some guns. It is a nice little iron sight. The hop up here is here, and you essentially turn it this way, and you adjust the hop. And then we've got the rest of the gun here. This is the bolt handle. This essentially is used in loading. Effectively, when you run out of rounds, this will lock back. You pop this in and then release it. It is recommended that when you load this, you essentially pull this back, pop this in like so, and that will pop forward if you've got BBs. Now, the reason for this apparently is essentially in twofold. Essentially, it will load a BB when you pop it forward, and it's already primed. You don't have to worry about first shot being just gas. Second reason is essentially in here, you don't want to damage the leader for the BB to push it into the breech. Essentially, by pushing up on it closed, it just keeps it out of the way, and this is, you don't want to damage this in there. So it's pretty nice sort of action on that, and you get used to it. So it is a really nice gun. It looks great. I basically saw this at an event I saw last weekend. In fact, a guy running one of these, and I kind of liked the look of it. I didn't actually know what it was, and I did a bit of research and tried to find out what the rifle was, and eventually stumbled across it. And then I actually picked this one up from Wolf Armories in the last couple of days. Now, at Wolf Armories, this is on sale for about $260, so it's a pretty reasonable price for a rifle that's out of the box. It's a DMR, it's gas blowback, it's essentially power is consistent. It will. I have kind of sort of had a little sort of feel and play with this, and it does operate really nicely. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to chrono this, and I'm actually going to run it in a game. So what we'll do is this is the initial unboxing and having a kind of look around the gun. It's a very straightforward gun. It's a really straightforward gun. And what I will do is run the chrono on it, and then we will do a bit of a review, kind of a post-game catch-up, and then we can see how it's performed. But in general, this is feels like a really nice gun. It's going to be an interesting one to use. I say it's a gas blowback DMR rifle out of the box. It should be a real nice sort of experience. So with that, we will sort of switch to the old chrono, and then pick up again after with the final thoughts. So with that, we'll just go for the chrono. Okay, so we're kicking off the chrono. we are using 0.28 gram BBs, and we're using straightforward green gas, and we get a good variation here of shots, ranging from the sort of a low of 247 through to a high of 346. That kind of equates to, in the UK anyway, a gun that is good for DMR use at most sites, and it will be under limit, pushing about 1.5 joules. The weather, when these shots are taken, the temperature was pretty reasonable, but I have had this run as high as 1.7 joules, 1.8 joules on the same gas in a warmer temperature. So the deviation was about 17%, and the average was about 316, and yeah, pretty consistent for a gas gun. And welcome back from the Chrono, and we are basically just going to wrap up here with a little bit of a sort of post Chrono catch up and a bit of a kind of a review of actual use, because we took this guy out to a skirmish and played it for not for an entire day. We played maybe 3 games with it, and it performed really well. I had 4 magazines with this, running 0.28 BBs over the course of the day using green gas. It chronoed just under limit for the site, which was good. It was a nice warm day, and it performed really well. We run a chrono, and we got kind of a variety of numbers here, and I think it averaged around in the 300s to around 316 it did, and had quite a deviation on the chrono. Now, when we chronoed it, we actually chronoed it with 2 gases, just to see how it performed, and it performed well on both the gases that we used. I used an AB 144A gas, which is normally used in a Tokyo Marines, just to kind of test it out. It's the weaker gas, and it performed pretty well. And then I used the green gas as well. Now, in terms of performance on the game day, this thing hit pretty hard. It had a good range on it, and it was pretty accurate. As you can see, I've got it shown here in the setup we had on the game day, which you've got a Vortex Crossfire 2 short dot, which has been run on it on the day. It was pretty easy to zero. It was pretty accurate. It had good reach. The short dot sat just above the hop. You can actually, with the cantilever mount that we've got running there, we can actually modify the hop while the scope is on there. So it performed really well. I actually used it myself. One of my friends who was with me at the game day used it as well. We both had really good sort of feeling with it. It had a good reach. It hit hard. You could feel your hit at a range with this. We were up against a couple of snipers who had got really well upgraded sort of guns. This was stock, and it performed really well for the day. My thoughts on this, going forward, it's a really nice gun. It's kind of a good backup gun, I think, for a game day. You take it, and there's very little that can go wrong because it's a gas gun. It performs well. It allows you to sort of switch to a bit of a sort of sniper-like role with ease. It's not too cumbersome to use. It's a really nice gun. One of the things that have to get used to is basically the bolt here When cocking after it's so when reloading, you need to remember to pull this back as you're loading the magazine. It's one of those kind of just got to remember if it's like this in this state at the moment, essentially uncocked, hasn't been fired. Just remember to pull that back so you don't damage the feeding. The feeder for the BBs and everything else. It's, I say, it works really well. I like it as a DMR type weapon. It's very good, very easy to use, very straightforward in terms of usage, and essentially the ability to reach out and hit somebody, as it were. So would I recommend this? Actually, yes, I would. It's a nice weapon. It's fairly straightforward, very simple to use. Magazines are a little bit expensive. The magazines for this that I got were, I think they were sort of high £30 mark. So it cost me to get 4 magazines for this, so I could run it for a game day. It needed me to sort of outlay quite a bit of money. We're looking at over it was over £100 for the magazines. In comparison, if you think about something like TM Recoil, you can pick up a magazine for £23. So you can get at least 4 magazines for £100. This was just 3 for £100, and as it came with 1 in the box. The magazines are a little bit fiddly to load. One of the things I found with the magazine is when I'm loading with the speed loader in here, the speed loader would slip from side to side and you wouldn't get the BB going straight down, which resulted in the BBs sort of flying off to the side because they're not dead center. So you kind of have to remember to sort of do this with your fingers to try and hold it and guide the speed loader. But it's a really sort of kind of tricky thing. You can't sort of hold this down and hold this there. You do need to sort of set it on a table and kind of hold it and then feed it. You can't load through the side here. There's just not enough space. Even when you put it down there, you just don't have the space to load it. It is, they are surprisingly. I thought I'd used more than basically 4 magazines worth in the game. I didn't. I used about 3. You kind of find yourself taking more time with your shots with this gun. Having been used to AEGs most of the time, and a bolt action sniper, which is a little bit different. You naturally think this a semi-automatic DMR just kind of slows you down. There are only 20 odd rounds in a magazine. The other weapon that I've got is a potential DMR, which is a 417, has a 70 round mid cap, so it doesn't feel like I'm going to run out of ammunition because I do have 70 rounds in a magazine. This is just 20, and I just felt when I first started playing with it, I'm going to run out of ammo and I'm going to have to load in the field. What I actually found was I managed to go an entire game, and the game was about 30 minutes long, and I got through 3 magazines. I was into my 4th magazine, taking more time with the shots, and so on. So it's a bit deceptive. Now the other thing that I found with this is essentially slinging the weapon was a little trickier. I was running essentially a 3-point sling on this, or a 2-point sling kind of style sling. It doesn't hang like a single point sling does so well, so I found it a little awkward with that sling. So I think in future I may run a single point sling on it just to see if it works better, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix that to the tube here. Now you can't put if it hangs way too low by putting a single point sling here. So essentially I've got to figure out a good sling arrangement for this gun. My friend who used it didn't even bother with the sling. I used it when I went out with it with the sling, and I kind of quickly found myself basically just unhooking myself from the sling and just carrying it. And if I needed to switch to sidearm, which I didn't, luckily, it would have been a case of I'd put the gun down and so on. I say it's a little bit too hard hitting to use in a closed environment. Most sites won't allow you to shoot anyone within 30 meters with one of these. They will only allow you to sort of engage over 30 meters, and it can certainly reach out to 30 meters and touch somebody. So with that, I say it's a really nice weapon. It was acquired from Wolf Armouries here in London, and it was sort of just over £200. I think it was around sort of 60 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. It has actually been 2 weeks at the point of time I've actually recorded this that I bought it. But it's had it's had a couple of games and has worked out really nicely. So with that, if you found the review useful, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more of this content, please hit the subscribe button. And with that, thank you for watching, have a great day, and see you guys next time.